Shalom, shalom. How's everybody doing? Shalom, family. How's everybody doing? We hope, we pray that everybody is well and will be better. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the presentation. We ask you all to get your phones, your cameras, and take the screenshot of the slides as we go through them one at a time. We call this one here, people will pause, then argue, but not to compliment. And what do I mean by that? You have it to where there are those, and I'm speaking in general, that will sit there and take out the time to have an argument, whether it is a shouting match or not, and will be okay with doing so. Say just giving a Monday, then having to go to work or school or whatever like that, and then pause that, and then pick it up, say, Tuesday nights. But at the same token, when I sit there just picking a day, a Sunday, if you will, and pause the compliments, and then pick that up, say, on Monday. So not trying to, quote, sound deep, there are those who will sit there and deal with negativity, pause it, and then want to sit there and pick it back up to let the negativity fester and prolong. And over the course of time, having been in arguments myself, having been guilty of what I'm talking about myself, and been victimized of what I'm talking about myself, we want to sit there and present this out to the people for reference purposes. This is on the Facebook profile, Yeshaya Author Danite, as well as the YouTube channels, More Yeshaya Torah Lessons and More Yeshaya History Lessons. Thank you to the people who donated concerning the last presentation that was done on whether or not Rome was part of the prophecy in Daniel chapter 7. We hope and pray that everybody is well and will be better. Thank you to the people who shared it, commented upon it, and so forth. We are going to continue, Creator willing, to bring forth more presentations on this platform as time goes on. All right, so without any further ado, if I can be heard well and people are in good spirits, please type in the number 4. If I can be heard well and people are in good spirits, please type in the number 4. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, my friend. It's all good. Thank you for that. Let us, family, we want to do something on this particular one that is not very common, and that is bring live while doing it. I usually don't have my face on the screen or whatever like that, but on this particular one, I just choose to do so. All right. So let us, family, bring up the PowerPoint, if we will. Thank you for that. And let us look at it from this point. If the PowerPoint can be seen. Nope, not on the screen. So I'm going to have to do it this way again. Sorry about that, family, in that particular case. All right, should be now in this particular matter. Shalom, giving honor to our Maker. Welcome to Danitepublications. We ask you to comment, like, share, and subscribe. We can be reached at 908-587-4841. That is 908-587-4841. For those interested in Hebrew, the telephone number in that case is Tisha FS Shemona, Kamesha Shemona Shaba, Arba Shemona, Arba Echad, 908-587-4841. The email, yyisrael22@yahoo.com. You are welcome to take screenshots. I do not come on here, brothers and sisters, as a professor of this matter. I do not come on here, brothers and sisters, as a psychologist or psychiatrist. Nonetheless, family, we do intend to sit there and bring this out for reference purposes. All right? Thank you for that. Let us explain the meme. Now, let's look at it on brothers and sisters from this side, if we will, right? People will pause and resume arguing later, but will not care to repeat nice, constructive, beneficial, and supportive statements. For whatever reason, this is true. You have many brothers and sisters who will take out the time to make sure you're going to hear what I got to say. And if you don't hear it this way, you're going to hear it in a message, in a text in these days and times. If you don't hear it that way, you might just get an email. If you watch, for instance, not to be disrespectful, the old thing now from 2004, the Queens of Comedy, you understand? You should have just let me say what I got to say. I'm going to go up to your job, that kind of thing. So when do people sit there and take that same energy to say something nice and positive one to another? Be it man to woman, woman to man, brother to brother, whether biological or not, sister to sister, whether biological or not. I don't mean to sit there and put anyone on blast, but I remember a situation where a family member said something about another family member, right? And while we were, and I already kind of blew up the spot by saying we were talking, and we were dry snitching and talking bad about this family member. Nobody is perfect. You understand? And the matriarch of the family said, y'all stop talking about my such and such, and called the relative by the nickname she had for the relative. All of us got quiet. The matriarch of the family fed us our behind and put us in our place. We didn't even consider the fact that the person whom we are dry stitching and talking bad about behind one's back is the grandchild of the person sitting right there. We didn't pay homage to the elder that was sitting right there, just going to go on. And the elder, being of a certain age and experienced certain things before it even, quote unquote, popped off and got to that point, shut it down. And we have to respect that. So brothers and sisters, being guilty of certain things and being victim of certain things gives one the ability to even sit there and speak upon certain things. We, not him, her, they, and their, those over there, we should not be doing that one to another. If you can't say it to one's face, then it should not be said. There's another situation, a little princess. Those who may know I'm talking about my little one. You sitting up there, and there's no disrespect intended, talking in a different language about another lady's items. You are saying her shoes look nice in the public, but you say it in a way that you expect the lady to not know what you're saying. Why? You're a little lady. This person's a grown lady. I'm a grown man. I don't wear women's shoes. So you telling me that the lady's shoes is nice, You can't even fit them, little princess. What am I supposed to say? So I thought it was a good idea to sit there and say, excuse me, ma'am, my little daughter here, daughter slash friend, I'll explain friend in a moment, has something she wants to say to you. Say to the lady what you said. Oh, and then you're still looking at me. And oh, I said her shoes is nice. But you're telling me. Say to the lady, I heard what you said in a different language. I'm saying to you, little sweetheart, say to her what you said. I said, I think your shoes is nice. I said, we're going to try this again. Because the exact words that you use, little sweetheart, is Na'aleha yafot, which means Na'al meaning shoe, Na'aleha, her shoes, yafot, nice. That's what you said. You did not say, I think her shoes is nice. You didn't say, speaking as a lady, a female, Aniko shebet Na'aleha yafot. See, that term, I think, is not what you said. You said two words in Hebrew, Na'aleha yafot, which means her shoes is nice, or her shoes are nice. You understand? But then when you do say to her something in a language you understand that she will understand, is I think. Why do you sit there and just can't say emphatically, using my little princess as an example, your shoes are nice? I said, I think her shoes are nice. We're going to try this again because you did not say that. You said, in quote, look at the lady and tell her what you said. Your shoes are nice. Now, was that so hard? Was that so hard, little sweetheart, to tell the lady that her shoes is nice? And the lady responded back and said, thank you. So that right there, using a little princess who was not 10 at the time to people who are now in their 40s and 50s, are guilty of the same kind of matter. As a 5-year-old had a problem, or somebody under 10 had a problem, to say to a grown person or not a grown person, your shoes are nice. You're speaking about somebody in a language you figure they don't understand, even if you wasn't saying something bad, even if you wasn't saying something demeaning, even if you wasn't saying something negative. Why? Why do we do that as children? Why do we act as children doing it as adults? Are we scared, afraid? Do we think it's taking something from us to compliment somebody? Do we think going into the house of Israel, saying that a brother or sister is doing something is going to sit there and take away your shine? No, such is not the case. I wrote a paper when I was in high school. And those who do know, not to be funny, I love to write. You understand? The teacher gave me a C. Instead, no bibliography. Writing is nice, but you forgot to cite your sources. Now, being a published author, I already know you have to cite your sources to make your case stronger. It doesn't take nothing away from you to sit there and cite your sources. So this kind of thing can go into different kind of aspects, if we will. But getting back into this, people will pause and resume arguing later. Like, talk to the hand right now. I ain't hearing that. But we're going to pick up after this, after work. As if one is one's child. Well, when you get your behind in here, your behind is mine kind of thing. Men and women do that to each other. Brothers and brothers do that to each other. Sisters and sisters do that to each other. And we as the people in general need to stop that in order for us to grow. This is where we want to take Danitepublications. You understand? We want to raise the bar and reach out to the people, if we will, brothers and sisters. So a brother, yes, is open to constructive criticism. Let me know how I can make the channel better. Don't sit there and dry snitch and talk bad about me behind my back. Well, this brother should do this. Tell me. The number is there. 908-587-4841. When a brother says, for instance, if I can be heard well and people in good spirits, type in the number 4, and you type in the number 4, that lets me know that you are hearing me well. I can't always hear me when I'm doing this presentation. Unless looking at it like this, and I pick up the thing and do something like this. I would have to sit there knowing that when you are doing something live, it's 10 seconds. You hear what I'm saying 10 seconds after I say it when I'm on YouTube and so on. So I keep the volume down so that way it won't be on the live while I'm talking. So it won't be interrupting, say, of each other. But family, Let each other know how we're doing. Ask each other how we're doing. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but when we sit there and say, I'm well and I hope all is well with you, you can do more than hope. You can find out. Instead of not trying to tell, again, anybody what to say, I'm well and I hope you are too. Why not ask each other so you, after that, can thank each other for the concern? You know, one selfish thing that people do is that what we're going to talk about. Hey, thank you for asking. They don't ask back. Hey, how's the family? How's your family doing? Everybody as well? Everybody as well. Thanks for asking. And if you ended on that without asking back, that's selfish. Why can't you be thanked for also asking how another person and their family are doing so each party that's talking can thank each other? Because we pause with the positivity, but we make sure we stay with the negativity. That's why. You understand? And again, family, that is something that we must cease from doing. There are those who like the matter of bickering, arguing, and being confrontational. Some think that gives them power, you know? If I could sit there and say, yeah, I got something good for you. Yeah, wait for this one. There are some people who don't listen to understand, but they listen to respond like, are you done yet? Now, I'm going to read you. That kind of spirit. You understand? We read, separate from your enemies and take heed to your friends. We read, cast out the scorner and strife and contention will cease. You know, I remember reading that as a child in Proverbs. Cast out the scorner and strife and contention will cease. You know when I heard that saying again? Watching the movie Menace to Society. Let's use that as an example. The grandfather in there said that to the guy, Cain, in the movie. You beat up somebody right in front of their house. And you were surprised that they're asking you and telling you to leave for peace sake. Cast out the scorner and strife and contention will cease. Well, I wasn't going to tell you this, but in a week, I'm going to go with this lady over there to Atlanta, and it hurt me when I saw the grandmother's face. It really hurt me when I saw it, talking about that movie, Menace to Society. When the grandmother said to her grandson, don't mess up that baby's life, Cain. What energy in the movie did Cain, their grandchild, give to make the grandmother say, don't mess up that lady's life? What negativity was the guy Cain about that he was not pausing that particular case? You rob somebody for their car items at the burger shop. You beat somebody up when he respectfully approached you, by the way. If you watch the movie Menace to Society, which one of y'all is Cain? I don't like the way you doing my cousin. The guy didn't come with a gun. He didn't come with, quote, his boys. He came there by himself and confronted one respectfully, man to man. In the movie, Cain, dwelling upon negativity, he couldn't even respect that. We supposed to fight over some B word? You understand? You attack the guy, and then when the guy does now get his boys, you're in the background saying, I knew one day I was going to have to deal with that fool, but I didn't think it was going to come like that, because you didn't think. Because you stayed in negativity. You thought that was okay to sit there and do. You thought that was okay to sit there and dwell in. You forgot, using that movie as an example, dwelling in negativity, how you felt when you got shot. How you felt when you got beat up by the police. Now here you are attacking people when a person respectfully approached you. When your grandfather dropped that to you, Brother Cain, in the movie Menace to Society, for those who did see it, Cain, do you care whether you live or die? And then he looked and said, I don't know. In the scriptures, it sadly says that death shall be chosen over life. That's in Jeremiah, by the way. So be it the matter, sadly, in slavery, when we felt that death was freedom, or dwelling in negativity after slavery, where it is what it is, we all going to go there one day mentality. That right there is when you don't have enough happiness and positivity. Because brothers and sisters may feel that's being a coward or a punk. You ain't going to punk me. I'm going to sit there and make sure I get the last word, and I'm going to sit there and let you know that you're off again and again and again and again. You got men and women who want another to apologize more, no disrespect intended, than maybe the Most High requires of the house of Israel. There is one time in the year that we are commanded to go and to confess our sins and ask for forgiveness. That time is Yom Kippur, which is one day out of the 300 plus days on the Hebrew calendar. But we have it to where men and women expect each other to apologize and go in more, if we will, than perhaps the Most High in the scriptures expects or will command us to do so. What we're reading here, separate from your enemies and take heed to your friends, that comes out of the Apocrypha, Ecclesiasticus chapter 6. Cast out the scorner, and strife and contention will cease. That comes from the book of Proverbs in the Bible, chapter 22. Let's move on, family. Danitepublications presents, there is nothing wrong in giving one a compliment. Did you know that, family? Do you know that it takes nothing from you to compliment another person? You know, when you're dealing with a person that's of a dark nature, and when I say dark nature, I mean negative, dark matter, dark energy, if you will, is when he or she can be ready to always critiquing that's wrong and critiquing that's wrong, but then he or she is too quiet when you're doing better. They don't take the same energy to say you even improved. They don't take that same energy and say, yo, that's good. That's deep. That's why we read, separate from your enemies and take heed to your friends. They give you the shocked face look like, yo, you achieved that? I remember a situation, I'm going to tell two situations, no disrespect intended. And this is not because per se of race, but because people are like this in general. But the guy happened to be white. And we had a site working, and all you had to do was get on this particular exam over a 70. It didn't matter if it was a 72 or if it was a 98. You still passed, you passed. So it was two black guys, being one, and then the white dude. And the white dude got 80. I got an 88. And the other brother, he got a 90 or so. So we all passed. This dude cannot stand the fact that somebody else, I'm not going to say it's based on race, but I'm going to just say that he just couldn't stand the fact that even though we all passed the exam, that somebody got higher than him. That's crazy. You couldn't even dap up or coworker up or whatever, like, yeah, we all did it, we got it. Because there's no we in dark energy. There's no we in dark matter. There is me, myself, and I, and you know what with you. There's nothing wrong with giving somebody a good word. It does not, again, take anything away from you to compliment somebody else. There's nothing wrong with that. You are not going to be diminished or get a demerit in your spirit by giving somebody a good word. We read, teach a righteous man and he will increase in learning. We read, reprove not a scorner, lest he hate thee. There are those who may not even have your best interests at heart, but if what he or she is saying is true, take the wisdom / knowledge and leave off the foolery. What do I mean by that? If somebody doesn't have your best interests at heart, right? If you will. But they're telling you, don't do that. Even if they're telling you in argumentative fashion. But what they're telling you is the right thing to do. Take heed to it. Rise above their foolery and take the wisdom in that particular case. That boils down to a thing of respecting the message, even if you don't understand the messenger's feelings. If the messenger is not listening to his or her own advice, you still take it. Being raw Not that I ever would sell drugs, because that's not my spirit. The people who told me not to were drug dealers. Drug dealers told me not do what they do. I remember it was one day I was on my way somewhere, and they called me over to them when I was walking, quote, in the hood. It was like, hey, El, come here. Now I'm thinking, do I sit there and keep on walking? I've seen them around the way several times. This is broad daylight at this point. So I'm assuming that it's not going to be any drama. So I shouted back at them. I said, peace, my man. You talking to me? Yeah, come over here. So I did go over there. And they said to me, not to be self-centered, you are a positive dude, B. You know what we about. We about selling that, you know what. You go into something constructive and you keep doing what you're doing, man. Don't do what we do. This ain't for you. And now, mind you, I had no intention on taking, quote, white powder, putting it inside the pot and boiling it and sitting up there and putting it in a vial and selling it down the block. I had no intention on ever doing that. But they sat there and told me not to do it. So even if they're not taking their own advice, even if they're not taking their own wisdom, that doesn't mean that I shouldn't. If I'm a fool and I'm going to follow foolery, I'm going to say, well, you ain't even doing it, so I'm going to. That's what it means when we say you respect the message, even if you don't understand the messenger. You understand? I have no problem somebody contacting me about a mistake in a presentation. Let me know. One friend told me to make the PowerPoints bigger because they put it on their screen so they can see it. That's constructive criticism. People who don't care about you will not do that. There is a thing as tough love, and it's not hatred. You understand? Reprove not a scorner, lest he hate you. So once you try to sit there and counsel somebody and put, quote, somebody on or something, if they reject it, you did your portion. But definitely blow the horn. What do we mean when we say blow the horn? Let it be known, brother, sister, work on this. Brother or sister, do that. You understand? Now, he or she may accept it. He or she may not accept it. But if you do your portion and you know you come in with good energy, good vibes, or positive vibes, as the saying goes, then you did your part. And that's something we want to point out for reference purposes. We are going to take an intermission, put on some music, brothers and sisters, and be back, say, within 5 minutes. Thank you for the time. Shalom. Shalom. Let us continue giving honor and praise unto our Maker. We hoping and praying that everybody is well and will be better. Shalom. Shalom. Let us continue giving honor and praise. All right, family, we're going to pull the PowerPoint back up, if we will. All right. In this particular one, we're going to put on the camera, which is an oddity, but we're going to, in this case, all right, pull a PowerPoint back up, if we will. All right, so looking at it from this particular case, there are those who may not even have your best interests at heart, but if what he or she is saying is true, take the wisdom, knowledge, and leave off the foolery. Brothers and sisters, looking at that kind of matter, that takes maturity to do so in that particular case. And we, as a people, do and can have that for understanding purposes. You understand? It takes nothing away from us for such. It can only add to us. The people who work, for instance, in the food industry, like even in health food, don't know you, may not even care about you, but you can respectfully utilize what he or she is selling for your benefit. And there's no hurt or harm or foul in that particular case. So those are the kind of examples that we want to use for reference purposes. All right. So let us continue, if we will, family, in this particular case. All right. Okay, seeing how the screen looks in that manner. All righty, let's go on. Thank you for the time. Proverbs 1, Solomon. My son, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not. If they say, come with us, let us lie and wait for blood. Let us lurk for the innocent without cause. Let us swallow them up alive as the grave, and whole as those that go down into the pit. We shall find all precious substance. We shall fill our houses with spoil. Cast in thy lot among us. Let us have one purse. My son, walk not thou in the way with them. Restrain thy foot from their path. For their feet run to evil, and they make haste to shed blood. For in vain the net is spread in the eyes of any bird. And these lie in wait for their own blood. They lurk for their own lives. Brothers and sisters, you remember that movie, South Central? Remember all that stuff that guy had in that warehouse that was stolen, or hot, if you will, right? When we read, when it says, we shall find all precious substance, we shall fill our houses with spoil. Do you know how you can relate that to a sad case in real life? There was, some time ago, knuckleheads doing what is referred to as the, quote, knockout game, if you will. And in this particular quote unquote game that people were doing, right, they would approach somebody, knock the person out, and rob them. And this was going on in real life, and the news was talking about it. It got to the point that two things happened. One, I'm going to say, and then I'm talking about a real matter of that same situation. They made a movie where somebody was doing that, and the person who robbed somebody's shoes in the, quote, knockout game could not take their shoes off. Once they had the shoes on their foot, it was stuck on it. That was a part of a movie to exemplify that. In real life, in this quote-unquote knockout game, somebody pulled out their gun and shot that person to death in real life. After that, that quote-unquote knockout game ceased. So now when we go in here in the book of Proverbs, and it says here, and these lie and wait for their own blood, they lurk for their own lives. So the little knuckleheads that was going around casting sin, enticing people to consent with them, let us lie and wait for blood, let us look for the innocent without cause, let us swallow them up alive as the grave and whole as those that go down into the pit. Those are people who definitely don't have time to pay a compliment to somebody. They look after their own lives. So they keep on pursuing the negative. They keep on doing the negative. They keep on being negative. And as the saying goes, it caught up to them. As the saying goes, there is no, quote, getting over, brothers and sisters. What does not come out in the wash comes out in a rinse. So we have to sit there and clean up before we are washed up. What do I mean by that? Clean up your act, our act, before we wind up being washed up. Washed up meaning not usable. Done. Instead of you, I, correcting ourselves, it becomes a matter of correction had to sit there and take a hold of us, like it says in the scriptures, in the book of Jeremiah, where it says your own wickedness will correct you and your own backsliding will reprove you. So before your ways catch up to you that are negative, cleanse it, get rid of it, whatever it may be, brothers and sisters, and you have the power to do so, like the Most High told Cain. Sin crouches at the door, and to you it's a desire, but you can rule over it, whatever it is. I put myself out there, if I may, for an example. Those who've been following the channel and know, when I was younger, I was a thief. What did I do to mentally stop it? Because a lot of things start from the mind. So what did I do to mentally stop it is anything I stole, and I'm not trying to make it light by saying I was a child at the time, but I was. I compared it to something that I don't like. In that case, kazir, pork, swine, if you will. That swine in your pocket, my brother. Knowing myself as Israel since a baby, but still stealing in my teens. That swine in your pocket, brother. And so telling myself that, I'm like, no, I don't want bacon in my pocket, man. I don't want ham hocks in my pocket, man. I don't want fat back in my pocket, man. I don't want pork chops in my pocket, man. So once I understood it from that angle, I stopped. You understand? I had a conversation while we were talking, not to get too personal, about being around family and talking with family and everything. You understand? Brother to brother, if we will, even if we're not blood brothers, but we are related. I'm not going to use the exact words the brother man used, but like, yo, she coming to me, that means she ain't got a man. I'm like, dogs, you're my man's. She has a man, she just not faithful. Leave her alone. If that was his girl, she wouldn't have been coming to me. You understand where he at? He called me. He didn't call you. She did what this is talking about here. My son, if sin is enticed thee, consent thou not. She texting you to sit there and, quote, meet her at a certain place at a certain time when she already has a husband, when she already has a man. She is this kind of person that this portion here is talking about. Come lie with us. Of course, I inserted the word lie in there. Let us lie and wait for blood. Let us lurk for the innocent without cause. Let me sit there, and because my man is doing this, perhaps he's not, quote, paying me any attention, I'm going to sit there and do me. I'm going to get attention somewhere. Somebody's going to show me, quote, LOVE. But you're doing it shiesty, sister. You're doing it shiesty, my lady. You're doing it shiesty, my extended sister. That is not the way to go about that in that particular case. If you all can't get counseling and you and the person that you're with can't work it out, if you are, quote, past counseling, then that's different. Then you end it off. But you don't start anything dirty. You don't go into anything dirty, brothers and sisters. So the relative I'm talking to is up there basically like, yo, if she had a man, she wouldn't have been calling me, right? I ain't call her. Yeah, I extended the number and everything like that, but I ain't sitting up there. She the one getting at me. But here's the problem. Because when she gets back with her dude, when she gets back with her man, where you going to be? If she still is emotionally attached to the person that she is with, and you are the side piece as a man, she going to tell on you, bruh. She don't have respect for you. The people who tell one another, come lie with us, let us lie and wait for blood, let us swallow them up alive as the grave, those people don't love you. That's not love. Another man's lady, okay, going shopping with somebody else, and her man doesn't know about it, of the opposite gender, she does not respect and love that dude that she's doing that with. You understand? She tell on you, he gets in his feelings, you're now their enemy. You can avoid that by not even entertaining that. You understand? People who are doing that don't have the time to sit there and state nice things. I mean, no disrespect intended. I remember I'm like in my late teens at the time. And this lady had gave me her number, but she said, yeah, don't call me like after 10 o'clock. I'm like, okay, don't call after 10 o'clock. Peace, sister B, tell her B. Don't call me after 10 o'clock. I was like, okay. And I remember, may she rest in peace, I told my mother, I said, yeah, mommy, I met a nice lady. She's pretty. She seems cool. But I can't call her after 10. My mother looked at me, may she rest in peace, and basically was saying, son, you're stupid. You can't call the grown woman that got her own house after 10 o'clock. Of course, you may not want to hold a long convo with being a school night or a work night or anything of that sort, right? She looked at me, she said, she got a man. If you can't call her after 10 o'clock to just say, I was thinking about you, you have a good night. May your night be as beautiful as you are. If you can't say a little something like that, that is nice to say. My mother was saying to me, she got a man. Don't call her at 10 a.m. either. Come to find out, the lady had a man. That's why she was saying don't call after 10 p.m. You understand? The sister wrote, I was just saying how folks only want to support you when you are in discord. They don't support or compliment nothing good that you do. That's very true. I remember situations in which people would be in relationships, and the only time somebody show up is when they think there's a problem in a union between a man and a woman. They don't sit there and reach out when you're in another continent. They don't sit there and reach out when you're in another country. They don't sit there and reach out when you're doing a podcast together. They don't sit there and reach out when you're doing a show together. They don't sit there and reach out when you're doing your what they call like power couple grouping together. No. But when they sense there's an argument, hey, let's go Israel. Shalom, sis. Brother man wrote something on Facebook that seemed mean. That's when you show up to support your sister. Yo, Ak, that thing that you said, bro, man, where were you when the book was being pushed? Not to get too personal. You show up when you think me and the missus have a problem. That's when you show up. All right, that's exactly what that energy is. See, because if you're so quick to sit there and show up when you think there's drama, that means you've been following along and seeing, paging and notarizing, in your head notarizing, but then not at the same token give that same energy that something is nice. You understand? You don't sit there and click like or heart on that picture, if you will, but you make sure you're right there when you think something is drama. You got to be there for support and help in both aspects. You understand? So these are things, again, that we care to sit there and bring out for reference purposes. Let's continue, family. What do you think? There is nothing wrong with telling a fish it swims well. What do I mean by that? Some people may laugh at that, but there's nothing wrong, again, with telling a fish that it swims well. Of course, we expect a fish to be able to swim well. But what's wrong, family, with that. Which one would paying a compliment to a singer? You sing well. I remember years ago, the group wasn't as good as others, but certainly can sing better than me. And they went to the Apollo and performed. They got booed. And not to be funny, a lot of on the low, you may think or know, white audiences laugh at us as Black people on how we act at the Apollo, booing children, booing adults, even if they're not as good as the other group or the other artists, and they don't win. You don't have to boo people. I think that it is so low budget and disrespectful and humiliating to boo each other like we do at the Apollo. You don't see that at Carnegie Hall. You don't see that at Rockefeller Center. You don't see that at Radio City Music Hall. You see that at, quote, the Apollo, which we don't even own as Black people no more. Even if the artist is not as good as another, he or she may not win, but you don't have to sit there and boo a child or an adult for having the courage to even sit there and want to entertain and perform for you. That's ignorant. You understand? When we left from the Apollo that night, my mother, my sister, and I seen that group that got booed off and said to them, y'all did sing well. And they said, thank you for that. Do you remember seeing anything about Michael Jackson and how he felt seeing James Brown perform at the Apollo? Where legends are born and stars are made. So if that be the case, people who run the Apollo over there in Harlem, why sit there and take out the time to be negative to boo a child or an adult? Did you know Lauryn Hill got booed at the Apollo? Did you know that? Lauryn Hill performed at the Apollo and got booed. This is the same Lauryn Hill who came out with that miseducational Lauryn Hill that went platinum. This is the same Lauryn Hill that did that classic song with Nas. As a child, Lauryn Hill got booed at the Apollo. Now, what do people who sit there and dance to her music later on have to say to that? You're going to do that to a girl or a boy, to an adult or a child, but then later on dancing to her music. How do you feel, Harlem? How do you feel, Brooklyn? How do you feel those who come from Bridgeport, Connecticut, or Newark, New Jersey to go to the Apollo and sit there and boo your own people? Even if the performance wasn't as good as another. So you don't want to see that person perform again. You don't have to sit there and be so negative to boo him or her. But again, brothers and sisters, who are we reaching out to? Are people who we speak about in Deuteronomy 28. Smitten with madness, blindness, and astonishment of hearts. So when we do good, it's like astonished, like, oh my gosh, you did good. And it's not to be self-centered. I remember people, Brother Yeshaya is a moray. And one time I had to sit there and say, yo, man, I got to give it up to you this time. What? Excuse me? First off, the presentation is done before the Most High. That's first. Another aspect, drop bar, if we will, is you may agree or disagree. But you have to dig deep in your soul to sit there and say, this time I got to sit there and give you your props. You don't have to sit there and give somebody their props. Because when one is already doing something, he or she is going to continue to do it because it's in his or her spirit. You know the saying that says, if you reach one person, you did your job? You have people who are sitting right there who are haters on the sideline. They have so much time on their hands, they can sit there and afford to be a hater. He or she is not doing his or her own duty. If you have enough time to be a hater, that's a problem. You sit there and be on the rapper 50 Cent stuff. You're going to sit there and buy the seats in the concert so Ja Rule doesn't have any audience. He still gets the money because the tickets are sold. But you want to sit there and despise another person so much, you don't trust in your own G-Unit, brother 50 Cent, the rapper, Mr. Jackson, to where you want to hate on someone else, to where you spending your money from your work that you did, and it's not to hate on the man that you sat there and bought out the concert from Ja Rule, so people can't sit there and afford to go But meanwhile, he still does get the money, but don't get the popularity. You sit there and watch somebody's video, but make sure you do it to where the person doesn't get the click like on their YouTube platform. Puffy, if you hear this, not to be hateful, you're trash. I'm not personally the biggest fan of Michael Jackson, nor Little Kim. May Michael Jackson rest in peace, and Little Kim could probably care less about what I just said. But when the brother found out that Puffy, being a manager, did what he could to block Little Kim, the artist, to work with Michael Jackson, that's a hater. You so hateful to where you are going to sit there and not even know when to play the, quote, middleman or the third party. Like, y'all going to get hooked up, but because I'm the middleman, I get my cut. No, you didn't wind up getting a cut out of it. You just want to cut them away from each other. Dancing all in the videos. You didn't know when to sit there and make yourself incorporated with something. So because you had no control on it, you sat there being hateful, cut it off. See, that's the legacy that you left, Puffy. You understand? You did not sit there and compliment the young adults that was walking from one part of New York to the other to sit there and get you something to eat and drink. That's the legacy that you left. So there are those who just have negative, dark energy, if you will. They find a problem complimenting somebody. In this presentation, I spoke to everybody from my little princess to other people, including myself. We, not him, her, or they, we cannot continue to do that. Taking it as a couple thing. You got men and women that will sit there, be in a couple, be in a relationship, and will sit there and pause an argument to after work. Not speak to each other perhaps all day. Bearing a grudge, if you will, O house of Israel. And then pick up the argument later. But these kind of energies are the same kind that don't understand you're beautiful, you're nice. I hope your day is as beautiful as you. Huh? You want something to eat? I got you. You want something to drink? I got you. Whether they're a couple or not. Just doing something if you want to in your heart nice with someone, huh? Case in point. I gave somebody, and it's not to be self-centered, an odd donation. A donation that was not the typical type. Now it's a donation. Personally, I've gotten donations in the Cash App everywhere from $5 all the way up to over $100, and I appreciate every cent. You understand? But you gave the donation back, not realizing that it was a test run to sit there and see, should I even advertise your products for my little princess? Because you got to be careful bringing energies around your children, whether they know each other or not. So before I advertise your thing in front of my child and for my child, because I'm not buying it, because I'm not into your feminine products, you decided to block. You decided to sit there and give back because you didn't like it. But meanwhile, it's the donation. It's not something that you, quote, earned. It's something when somebody wanted to do from their own heart. But you had a problem with that. You had a problem accepting something from the heart, from where the mind is, whether it's the physical heart, where your mind and your spirit is, or your upper mind, where you're also your mind and your spirit is. Whether, quote, the upper chakra or the central chakra, as some people call it, you didn't understand the blessing in that. So you returned the blessing and you cut your blessings off in that case because you didn't know that was a test run to sit there and see what it is. I remember going for a job one time, if we will, right? If I could be heard well, people in good spirits, type in the number 4. Thank you. I remember going for a job one time, and they had me sit regarding the interview for almost an hour. But I come to understand what they was doing was testing one's patience. Will I sit there and make faces like, yo, come on, man. Yeah, well, that was part of the interview process. I watched the cartoon with my little one time. And it was about these cartoon characters who were ducks. And they had a pageant, a beauty pageant to go to. And it was 3 of the ducks, all female ducks. And in it, they went there as 2 and 1 was left behind. 1 was left behind. Thank you for that. It's all good for pressing the 4. 1 was left behind because an elder needed help with her groceries. An elder needed help carrying something. Remember, it's a beauty pageant. So one of the ducks left behind is trying to help the elder, but make it at a certain time to the pageant. The dress got damaged while helping and everything like that. Like, I got to go to this pageant and so forth. You understand? Come to find out, the person who was helping, the older one, what? The pageant. The person who was being helped was one of the judges and wanted to see how the younger ones was going to sit there and act helping somebody. Or were you just going to try to perhaps showboat, look at me strut, look at me, my show, my time? Or are you even humble enough to play the back role and helping who you didn't know was one of the judges? The person who was doing, or in that case, the cartoon, the duck, was helping won the pageant. It's not that the other ones would not have helped, but that was the test for that. The Apocrypha, O House of Israel, tells us, test a friend and be not hasty to credit him. So when a brother gave an odd donation, you didn't know that that was a test run to sit there and see how you was going to react to it. You didn't understand that. You gave that odd donation back like that is beneath me. But what you didn't realize, friend, is you missed out on a lot of promotion. But you made sure you kept the bigger donation. You didn't return that part. You returned the lower donation. You could have made more if you had some humility. I promise you, you could have made more. Guap, if you will. Paper, if you will. Promotion, if you will. If you just had a little humility and accepted the donation that was an odd amount. Because when you're in business, if you get a donation that's $73, or if you get a donation that is $22.18, it may seem like an odd one, but it's more revenue, and you can add to it. This is why you separate from your enemies. You take heed to your friends. So you keep the larger donation that was still less than 20. And that's exactly what you think your value and your worth is as a person receiving donation. Because you missed out on hundreds. You didn't know a person was doing a run test to sit there and see where the spirit was at. When we start talking about spirituality as opposed to just physicality, when we start talking about mental uplifting as opposed to just carnal, not necessarily sexual, but just carnal, that's the stuff we're talking about. But if you find something wrong with taking the time to pay a compliment, even say to a fish, to say that a fish swims well, those kind of people, no offense, they don't understand positive vibration. Why will I tell a fish that? Because you're sharing positive energy. That's why. When you find people wanting to talk to their plants, there's a reason for that. It doesn't take nothing away from you to pay respect to others, to give others the respect that is due to him or her. It doesn't take nothing away from you with that, family. You're not going to sit there and have a spiritual demerit. You understand? And it might make your energy better. You understand? So let's continue. She gives her hand to the poor. He gives to the needy. Those things are things that are not bad. Family, you have got to be out of your mind to want to take a picture of you helping somebody else. You have to take your phone out, throw it on there with one hand, and doing it with the other. It's too much work. Just give from the heart and from the mind, if you will. The part that says she gives her hand to the poor, that is in Proverbs 31. He gives to the needy, that is in Ezekiel 18. So as we read about the woman in Proverbs 31, there is the man in Ezekiel 18 that gives to other people. It ain't just she gives, it ain't just he gives, but we understand it's a give and take kind of matter. You know why? Not to be racial, we black people stay broke because we don't do that in many cases. We give back the donation because I'm better than that. You didn't realize, sweetheart, what you lost. I mean, not to be funny or beat a dead horse, you lost hundreds. Because when my little princess had that event and there was a bunch of 18-year-olds and 22-year-old girls, the stuff that you still for the younger generation, they would have definitely supported it. Because my daughter was the maid of honor that day, so to speak, at the quote shower. Her father was the DJ and her mother was the orchestrator of the event. So everybody who came to that event, that was when my little princess was about me, the little princess, and her mom. So they would have donated on the strength or bought, not even donate your stuff because, well, she's cool. That's her pops. He's cool. That's the mom's. She's cool. But you thought the donation was out of your league. It was too low for you. It didn't match your standard. So you returned it and then blocked. But what you just did is you blocked your blessings. Let's not make that mistake, family. You understand? That's the kind of foolery that we do one with another. But we'll not take out the time to say constructive, uplifting, positive, beneficial, supportive statements. Don't take out the time to say, I hope your day is as beautiful as you are. Don't take out the time to say, you got this. Do you realize that kind of statement when you tell somebody when they're dealing with something not necessarily negative, but just serious maybe? You got this. It's water under the bridge. You know you got this already. That's confidence in a light that you're sharing with somebody else. Why do we not do those kind of things as a people? But we'll pause an argument, hold and let that joint fester. Do you realize you can get yourself physically sick from that? Stress can give you an ulcer, which comes from the mind. Having stress on your mind can sit there and give you an ulcer, which is a hole in your stomach. That is not good. You shall rebuke your neighbor and not be a sin on account of him. And it also says, we're going to point this out too. Let's continue, family. Speak life to each other and speak well of each other. Work well with each other and be well with each other. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. You shall not hate your brother in your heart. So if you loving your neighbor as yourself, it is implied you already love yourself. But if you don't understand people saying to you, one love, got love for you, you're not going to understand that. There are times in which men and women have looked at each other weird, hearing from another person, I love you. Like, huh? But if you were to say something like F-U-B, F-U-N, we'll understand that. We'll respond to that. Now you're talking my language. But once it comes down to something constructive and not destructive, once it comes down to something uplifting and not negative, that's a problem. You understand, family? You shall not hate your brother in your heart because you can't fake love, family. So let us get rid of the negative matter and share that love one with another. A base person, a man of iniquity, is he that walketh with a forward mouth, that winketh with his eyes, that scrapeth with his feet, that pointeth with his fingers. Forwardness is in his heart. He deviseth evil continually. He soweth discord. That's a person who just delights in that kind of matter. But what's going to wind up happening is suddenly he shall fall without remedy. That's the next verse to that particular portion in Proverbs 6 that we just read. A base person. You know what base means in this case? Without any understanding. base, like the bottom of something, like the basement, you the lower energy of it. You're the base. You're not the higher energy of it. You're the base. You're the one being okay with everybody stepping upon you. You don't see yourself as the head. You don't love yourself to sit there and want to rise up. A man of iniquity is he that walketh with a forward mouth. Because you're a base person speaking upon that, no offense intended, you don't know how to speak positive life to people. You, no disrespect intended, in the Bible is like Joseph's brothers. We're going to see what becomes of his dreams. You were so jealous and envious and spiteful of your own brother. It says you could not speak peaceably unto Joseph. Just like brothers today can't speak peaceably one to another. Even in the house of Israel. If it ain't Shabbat, some people don't say shalom, man. Like, wow. And I'm talking from experience. Not to get too personal, I had to check a brother on that. Like, yo, I'm at work. So I am as well. I'm just trying to share positive energy out there. You know what? I will say shalom to you. Shabbat, Pesach, Yom Kippur, Yom Teruah, Shemini Atzeret, Sukkot, New Moon, or Shabbat. Monday, Tuesday, or so-called Wednesday either. If saying shalom is that much of a problem, to where working quote under the man, you're going to feel it's a problem, then you can miss me with that. Keep that energy, keep your enemies far from you, and take heed to your friends. I'm not trying to be funny in this kind of matter. You got brothers and sisters, kippah on their head covering, tebul or turban on their head wrap or fe'era for a female on her head, earring, nose ring, rings on their fingers, fringes, chains with the emblems on it or not, and have a problem saying shalom one to another. That's crazy. You make your garments look like a costume because it's not genuine. It's not from the heart. None of us are the most high. But in the scriptures, it says they praise me with their mouth, but their heart is far from me. So don't try to come at the Old Testament as if to say, oh, it don't speak about the spirit, and the heart of the matter. Yes, it does. That's in the book of Hosea. They praise me with their mouth, but their hearts are far from me. So we don't want to sit there and have our hearts far from our maker. We don't want to sit there and have hatred in our heart for our brother. House of Israel know that history. The Second Temple era, idolatry was not the crime that was being spoken upon. It was a lack of love for one another that was being spoken upon. There is a video, family. All right, I'm going to show this last slide right here. Subscribe to the channel. Keep yourself from a false matter. Forsake the foolish and live and go in the way of understanding. There is nothing wrong with saying, I love you. Why is it that people would pause an argument, say on a Sunday, to resume it back on Monday, but will have a problem with complimenting a person? And then I want to talk about a UPS experience that I had. Brothers and sisters, looking at it like this, right? There was a situation where a person was showing love and respect one to another. And other negative energies couldn't understand that. So they did what we just read in the scriptures and they sowed discord. The people that was being talked about wound up getting married and so on. I'm not going to mention no names. So what do you think happened to the person that was sowing discord with that? You became their adversary in their eyes. For instance, in relationships, you never tell a man or a woman dump the other. What you do, not trying to play psychologist or psychiatrist myself, you get both parties and you sit there and let them talk. You don't hear one side and then sit there and say, well, yeah, you should do that, because there's three sides to a story. In relationship, his side, her side, and the truth, because they can both be lying. Between brother and brother, between sister and sister. So we have to be very careful in that particular case. What do I mean in talking about this and saying the UPS experience, if we will, family? I turned in some stuff through UPS. Shalom, Sister Taylor, if you're still there. Peace to you. I checked the tracking on it. The tracking was moving slower than I hoped it did. But then eventually, when I did look up the tracking, it said delivered. So a brother, not to be self-centered, took out the time and went to the UPS store to say thank you. Just like there's nothing wrong with telling a fish that it swims well, there's nothing wrong with paying a compliment, even if it's that person's job to do so. He or she may not know the importance of the item that you're giving, but it doesn't hurt, because that same energy, if the delivery was not made or if something wrong happened, you'll be right there with a complaint. I want to speak to the manager. So why not go with the same energy when it's done excellent, when it's done well? I want to speak to the manager. I got something good to say about you. Why don't you go in that same kind of energy with that? By that process being done, not to get self-centered, it caused me not to have to give the phone company another $200. The item was delivered free. All I had to do was walk and drop it off, and they did their job. If the job was messed up, I would have been in with a complaint. So the person that was at the counter was saying, okay, go on the site and then say this address and the compliment, and the person did say thank you. And I said, oh, word I'm not going to say online here, such and such kind of people will sit there and have a complaint, but many people don't come with that same energy to give a compliment. It bothers some. So when you're around that kind of energy, my 2 cents upon it, try to sit there and share the link, if you will, or share your own understanding of will, if you will, about it. Like nothing wrong with saying nice, man. Nothing wrong with saying nice, lady. There's too much negative energy out there, and we, the soldiers of peace, have to sit there and break that. Israel, it just can't be shalom said on Shabbat. It sounds religious. Take out the time to sit there and be that peace, be that light, break the monotony of the evil. And with that, I hope and pray that everybody is well and will be better. Subscribe to the channel, comment, like, and share. Peace.